So you have a woman that's, from South Africa, she is a white lady. And, one thing that she's going to discuss is, how the white supremacists are the same everywhere they go. Everywhere they go, they're the same. Even in South Africa, they're the same way. Now, I want you to hear exactly what she says, who they're blaming for all their problems. They're not blaming themselves. But let's go ahead and roll that.
You've got those white South Africans that think that they're doing South Africa a favor by staying here, even though they hate their fellow South Africans, and also blame everything, their whole life, misfortune on black people. But the truth is, those that cannot leave yet don't have much skills, also don't have the money to leave. Okay, it's not because they love South Africa. They'd skedaddle as quick as possible. But the racist ones that do have money and a bit of skills, they get to go overseas. Okay, so they immigrate, and everyone freaks out about our immigration. But let me give you just an example of the type of people that immigrate regarding race. So this was a tweet that started off a thread of comments from people across the world. And it's about white South Africans that get to other countries. This is, for instance, West Auckland, New Zealand, and can't shut up or hide their racism when they get there. They think if they see a white person there, that they can be as racist as what they are in South Africa. Here are a few responses to this person's thread. Only white South Africans could find a new country that none of us knew existed and piss off everybody there shortly after arriving. I remember driving through the Free State near Bloemfontein and stopping in some small-town bar for some food. Got chatting to Afrikaans bloke behind a bar and asked him the population of the town. About 500 whites was the reply. Actually made me gasp. This guy's from the UK. I've never met a white South African who wasn't like this. My partner is from South Africa, white, but not Afrikaans, which is apparently worth distinguishing. And it's got to the point where he doesn't tell people he's South African because people assume things. Why are so many of them like that? And without shame. Oh, Jesus. You should hear them over here in Oz in beachside beer gardens complaining about the servant problem. God give me strength. I worked as a white South African. First day of work, Nelson Mandela had died the day before, ensuing ensuing conversation. Me, it's sad about Nelson Mandela crying. Her, he was a terrorist. I lived in Browns Bay, which is a South African stronghold. You will not believe the blatant racism in the local Facebook pages. And their comment section goes on. And the thing is that it's white people talking about South Africa's white people. It is crazy.
Shout out to this, lady here just exposing, the racist that's out there in South Africa. But it seems like even other white people don't like they behinds. And I remember a few years ago, I was talking about that, why didn't all of them go back to their homeland in the Netherlands? And I remember a few years ago, I had got an email from a lady from the Netherlands. And she had said at the time that we don't want them here. We don't want nothing to do with them. They need to stay down there where they at. She viewed them as trash. And boy, she did not have nothing good to say about them down there in South Africa. They didn't want them back at all. Because I said the worst mistake that Nelson Mandela made was to not broker a deal with the Netherlands to take them back. I'm like, look, they should have said, hey, we got free flights for you. So you can go on back to your homeland. You don't have to be here. Because as long as a lot of, you still have that remnant of apartheid that's with those people. That's why they have all this animosity. And trust me, they can't stand that black people is in the government. They can't stand black people as the police. They always complain, and everything about the government. Well, why are you complaining so much? Oh, well, it was better during apartheid. I'm pretty sure it was for you, but not for my brothers and sisters. And South Africa is a beautiful country, man. Like I said, we went back in March. It was my first time taking my children and my wife to South Africa, and they just all loved it. They loved it. We had a great time. Shout out to Mark and Dr. Latasha Blanton, Real South Africa. They definitely helped us facilitate a lot of things while we was there with my family. And yeah, like I said, I love South Africa. I tell y'all that's definitely one of my favorite African countries. And, I definitely could move to South Africa. But I've always said that I would like a place in South Africa and Kenya. I would love somewhere in Nairobi and somewhere in Johannesburg. So far I like those two countries. But South Africa, definitely is one of my favorites. Sandton, boy, sure, it's nice down there in Sandton. So, yeah, and they don't like to see that. So some of them white supremacists that's over there. Why are you crying? Why are you acting like a victim? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not black people's fault. It's your fault while you're in the situation that you're in. So some of your other brethren left, right? Because they can afford to leave because they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. I guess you didn't. Maybe if you work hard and stop being lazy and stop using race for everything, maybe you could actually get somewhere in life. Like, you think other black people in South Africa isn't struggling too? They get themselves up every morning early to go ride to work. I was telling the story about how some of the brothers and sisters in Soweto, how they get up real early to go into Johannesburg to go to work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they have to catch a couple of rides, and they riding kind of like equivalent of a taxi, but it's like a little van thing they all riding. I mean, they doing what they got to do. You don't hear them, see them crying and complaining. Now, of course, people talking about the load shedding, load shedding, that wasn't cool. And for those of you in America who don't know what the load shedding was, so basically, load shedding is at certain times of the day, they had the Eskom app. Eskom is like their light company. And they had an app, and you download the app, you put in your location, they'll tell you when load shedding is going to happen. So let's say like they're going to load shed from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., right? So at 11 a.m., boom, all the lights go out. And it's not going to come back on to 12:30. And you're like, so that's inconvenient, especially if you're paying your bill, right? So in some places, there was load shedding more than others. So it pissed people off. And while I was there, they did have like a national day of protest due to some of the load shedding and jobs and things like that. And that's just not cool. I believe that since South Africa is part of BRICS, that maybe they should ask China and Russia and India and all different places to maybe help them with that situation since you're part of BRICS. Why not? That's what I would do. I'll lean on those other countries and say, hey, man, what we got to do to get this thing fixed? But all in all, with even those problems, I still love South Africa. It's a beautiful country, peaceful, with the people. People try to complain on South Africa. Oh, they got crime in it. America got plenty crime. At least South Africa, you talking about their crime, they don't have nobody airing out schools in South Africa. They don't have nobody going to the mall and airing out the place for people shopping. You don't see that happening in South Africa. So, yeah, every nation on the earth got crime. I mean, so why you think South Africans' crime is worse than what they got going on here in America? But yeah, you know how they are, ladies and gentlemen. The white supremacists are always complaining. Always. You know what I'm saying? And, to the people that's cool out there, even some of the white South Africans, a couple of them I ran into, they was cool as ice, I'm cool with anybody that's cool with me. I'm a firm believer of that. I have no hate for nobody because hatred is cancer of the soul. But if you treat my people wrong, I'm going to be against you. You better believe that. So I definitely got to get back to South Africa much sooner than later. I'll probably be back out there in a few more months. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about what this lady's talking about. Some of my brothers and sisters from South Africa who's watching, because y'all are the #1 channel on the African continent that watch our platform, and appreciate South Africa for doing that. What y'all think about what this lady is saying?